In this audio, I would like to discuss a fallacy about mass psychology. When we consider what people watch on TV or listen to on the radio, the obvious thing is to say that most people are dumb. MASH was a dumb show. All in the Family was a dumb show. The Love Boat was a dumb show, though not as dumb as the first two. American Idol is a dumb show, or so I am told, though I have not personally seen it. Talk radio is categorically, utterly moronic, which I can say with certainty since when I did not have a TV, I would grudgingly listen to it. And maybe people are dumb, but I don't think they are as dumb as their viewing and listening habits would suggest. What's going on is that TV and radio have to have a one-size-fits-all approach. Since a given television station or radio station has to accommodate thousands, millions, or even hundreds of millions of people, it has to go for the lowest common denominator. Assuming that semi-individualized, semi-personalized podcasts continue to grow in popularity, and I'm referring both to pure audio podcasts like this one and also to YouTube-style visual podcasts, if that were to happen, we would find, I believe, that all but the dumbest people are actually much smarter than their current mass media-driven viewing and listening habits would suggest. It was when I started self-publishing on Kindle that I discovered how much media monopolies distort facts about what people want to read and, by implication, about what they want to watch and listen to. Back in the pre-Kindle days, when I was a professor, I published with several respectable science publishers. But the books were overpriced, and, for that reason among others, nobody would read them. And the only books that were read, at least in academia, were ones that were published by the big 2 or 3 academic publishers and were enormously promoted. And even those books were not really read so much as they were bought for display purposes or to serve as foils for acrid journal reviews and ignorant class discussions. So I told myself that my lot as a writer and thinker was not to be read. And I developed, or bought into rather, the maudlin stereotype of the genius whose works are over everybody's head and must therefore dwell in the arctic and splendid solitude of lonely greatness, or some such. But then I started self-publishing on Kindle, and, astoundingly, despite my utter lack of popularity, or my negative popularity rather, within the academy, my books really sold. And those colleagues of mine, or former colleagues rather, who were respected and even revered, did not sell at all. They did not sell so much as a single copy. And I also noticed, very strikingly, that a given book by one of these distinguished colleagues of mine, which had been positively reviewed by 10 eminent professors in 10 eminent journals, would not even sell 2 copies in a year. I knew all this. I was able to verify it because on the basis of my own sales and sales numbers and book rankings, I was able to correlate other people's book rankings with their presumptive sales. In any case, all of this made me realize that those books never really sold, and nobody ever really bought them. There were agreements with academic libraries to buy them, and professors would buy them, as it were, for classes, but at the end of the day, those books were so much deadwood. Speaking on a more constructive note, all of this indicated to me that popularity for an author, for a thinker, a serious thinker even, is not a bad thing. It is not a sign of lack of merit, contrary to what academics whose material does not sell at all self-servingly tell themselves. On the contrary, popularity is a sign of merit. A corollary is that a marketable, or even, in fact, especially a marketable intellectual product is not, at least not categorically, a bad one. Such a product is not, by virtue of being popular, one that is a low-level product. That is just what loser professors who cannot produce a viable intellectual product tell themselves to rationalize their own utter lack of creativity, to rationalize their own utter sterility as thinkers. On the contrary, the ability to engage market forces shows that one has a good product, and it also shows that one's product speaks to existing concerns, and therefore that, in addition to being good in its own right, it is also relevant. And ultimately, it is very hard for a book to be good without being relevant. So be aware of the distortions concerning marketability and merit and the relations between the two created by the media monopoly that a few companies had on publishing and on television and radio, a monopoly that is quickly evaporating, especially where book publishing is concerned. It should be pointed out that Dickens and Tolstoy and other such authors did not go through publishers. There were no publishers back then. Those authors self-published, just as authors today are once again starting to do. But there is a trade-off. When authors don't self-publish, they also don't have to self-market. Their publisher takes care of marketing. And when they do self-publish, they either have to self-market, which in my experience is not very effective, or they have to get somebody to market for them, which is something I need to look into, because without marketing, even the best product I have found is dead in the water sales-wise.